we're going to do a quick edition of Sound Off here, just interesting people saying interesting things. You just have to hear this. This was Terry Bradshaw talking about Aaron Rodgers potentially joining Terry's old team, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Just listen.
That's a joke. He should. That is just, to me, is a joke. What are you going to bring him in for 1 year? Are you kidding me? That guy needs to stay in California.
Thank you.
And chew on bark and risk 50 to gods out there. You get this presence and you feel like it's going to start snowing. So.
Does anyone have a reaction to that? Sometimes things can be presented without comment.
Chew
Dan?
on bark?
Chew on bark.
Chew on bark is an interesting burn. I never heard that one before, but it's nice to hear.
I've never heard when you get in someone's. I never heard when you get in someone's presence, you feel like it's going to start snowing either. I know. I don't like the cold no more than anybody, but I've never said that before.
It's just a very strange combination of things for Terry to say. We thought it was interesting. We thought we'd play it for you, and then we'd move on to a game called Is That Ridiculous with Louis Riddick. And this one I think is really interesting. Yesterday, Kirk Cousins was not present at the Falcons' OTAs. I found that significant. Is it ridiculous to say he will be on a different team by the time we get to week 1?
No, I don't think that's ridiculous at all, Greeny. And I think the speculation is going to heat up. I think this is obviously what Atlanta's front office is kind of banking on, that as we move through the offseason in the training camp, there's always going to be movement at the quarterback position. There's always going to be a team that figures, hey, look, we can level up with one of these veteran acquisitions somewhere, somehow, and maybe Kirk is that guy. And look, the speculation connecting him to Pittsburgh, I understand it. I get it. What does Arthur Smith run and play action pass? From 2018 to 2024, Kirk's time in Minnesota, his first year in Atlanta. The guy was top half of the league in terms of QBR on play action. He was number 3 in that time in CPOE, completion percentage over expected. He still has some time left in him. I think that offense would fit him, quite honestly. Let's just see where this all plays out, but I can definitely see that happening.
Graz, walk us through how that would happen if it were to happen.
Would have to be a trade. Atlanta has made it clear that they're not going to cut Kirk Cousins. He would like to be on another team. He has a no-trade clause, so he has some say over where he goes. But the key thing, Greeny, is $37.5 million in guaranteed money. 27.5 this year, 10 next year. Is an acquiring team going to pick up enough of that money to make Atlanta happy enough to do a trade? Otherwise, they have said and they have acted like they're comfortable having him as Michael Penix's backup this year.
I will see if he's able, or willing, I should say, to push the issue. Let me go to the next one, Louis. If I were to say, and perhaps I would say it hopefully, Justin Fields is going to have a career year in 2025. Is that ridiculous?
Not ridiculous at all. Again, Greeny, look, this offensive line in New York, which is where it all starts for these young quarterbacks. They got 3 first-round picks and a second-round pick on this offensive line. They've got to be better. They've got to establish the run, especially with the running backs that they have as well. And look, Tanner Engstrand, the new offensive coordinator, and we said it before, it's staring him right in the face as far as what, philosophically the approach should be for this team. Quarterback run, feature the running backs, lean on this offensive line, play action pass. So could Justin Fields have a career year which would primarily be comprised of 20-plus touchdown passes, 3K plus in passing yards, 800 plus in rushing yards? I absolutely could see it happening. And that would be a career year for him. I don't see why, if this team stays on the field in terms of everyone staying healthy, that Justin can't have that kind of year.
All right, I like the way you're thinking. Let me skip to the last one here because I want to have plenty of time for this. You and I spent a lot of the draft talking about Shedeur Sanders. If I were to say he is going to be the starter for Cleveland by week 6, is that ridiculous?
It's not ridiculous, although that's a start on the road in Pittsburgh. It's not ridiculous, but if they're looking to really set him up, I see it's a week 7. I think week 7's a home game for Cleveland against the Miami Dolphins. That really seems ideal. I know we're splitting hairs. Week 6, week 7, what the hell's the difference? Look, I wouldn't be shocked to see Shedeur Sanders in a true competition wind up winning the starting job coming out of training camp. I don't see that being ridiculous either. If you were to make that the stipulation of this segment. Look, I'm a believer in the guy. I'm a believer in his talent. I'm a believer in his makeup. I'm a believer in his football horsepower. I think he has as good a chance as any to surprise everyone as far as the people who are naysayers.
You see their first 6 games this year. Graziano, I'm going to make a prediction here, and you're our insider extraordinaire on the show. I am predicting that when we get into training camp, we're going to start hearing from you. Everyone I'm talking to people in Cleveland, they're so pleasantly surprised with how good he looks, how he's picking up the offense. Oh, all of a sudden, they're very enthusiastic about what they're seeing. Oh, he's going to get into a preseason game. He's going to look great. I stake my reputation as an evaluator, Dan, of which I have absolutely none, that Shedeur Sanders is going to prove some of us right and everyone else wrong and become the starting quarterback in Cleveland. What do you think, Danny?
100% possible. This is a wide open competition. If the Browns had to play this week, the starter would probably be Joe Flacco by default. He has the most experience. But this is a wide open 4-way competition. Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders. If Shedeur Sanders is the best guy out of those 4, if they get to the end of training camp and they feel like he's the guy that gives them the best chance to win their week 1 game, then I believe he will be the starter. This is what's beautiful about this. All the evaluations now from the outside folks are out the window, whether it's Lewis or you, Greeny, or Mel Kiper or whoever. Now we get to find out. It's going to be merit-based. If he's the best guy, he will play. Cleveland has set it up that way, and the fact that they drafted him where they did means that there's nothing that will trump that. It will be a true meritocracy, and he'll play if he's the best one.
Yeah, I mean, they literally drafted another quarterback a round ahead of him. So we will see. Again, I have no reputation whatsoever as an evaluator like Louis Riddick does, and yet I'm willing to stake it on the fact that Shedeur Sanders is going to wind up being the player that Mel and Lewis thought he was going to be. Connor, but still surprised. ESPN's FPI has the Cowboys with a 30% chance to make the playoffs. Let me put this in perspective. That is the 4th worst of any team in the NFC. They're saying the only teams in the NFC worse than Dallas are the Panthers, the Saints, and the Giants. Dan, are you buying the Cowboys being that level of bad?
I am not. I'm selling this. Now, look, I see where they're coming from because the 2 teams that were in the NFC Championship game are in Dallas's division. So they're not saying the only 3 teams that are worse than Dallas are those 3. They're saying that's the teams that have the less chance to make the playoffs. But Dallas is getting Dak Prescott in an offseason where nobody could find a good option at quarterback. Dallas is adding Dak Prescott, who missed the second half of last season due to injury. There is every reason to believe they will be improved. They won 7 games last year in a season where they played half the year without their quarterback. I am not buying that there are 12 teams in the NFC with a better chance to make the playoffs than the Dallas Cowboys, who, when Dak Prescott has played fully healthy seasons, have consistently been a playoff contender.
What do you think, Lewis?
Yeah, this is a tricky one for me, man, because I think I've said before that I think Dallas. Look, I don't believe they're going to win the division. I think they're the 3rd best in the East. And look, obviously we talked about the North, and we just talked about the West and how it looks with the Rams. Like this is touch and go with me. I think they're going to be right on the cusp. Quite honestly, I think the key is this. Obviously, Dak's availability is key. Him playing 16, 17 games has to be a certainty, I think, in order for them to be a playoff team. And quite honestly, the Tyler brothers on their offensive line, Tyler Guyton, Tyler Smith, Tyler Booker, all those offensive linemen who are studs, they have to all pan out, and they got to be able to own the line of scrimmage. If they can do those, if they can get those 2 things going for them, Dak stays healthy, the offensive line becomes like some kind of semblance of what it used to be like when you played the Dallas Cowboys, which was you knew you were in for a beatdown with their physicality up front, then they have a shot. But look, I don't know. I'm really on the fence with this football team this year.
Yeah, look, I mean, I'm not sitting here telling you I think the Cowboys are going to win the Super Bowl, but only the Panthers, the Saints, and the Giants. That means that the FPI is projecting Arizona has a better chance to make the playoffs, projecting that the Bears have a better chance to make the playoffs, and everybody else besides those teams that we just named. Let me leave that there for a minute. We'll come back and do more.
Rồi, mũi tiếp. Nốt lần lượt như vậy là được nhé. Mũi tiếp nữa. Đấy, làm luân phiên cho đến hết. Mũi tiếp theo. Tiếp nha mọi người. Tiếp tục móc.